Told you. Told you, didn't I, ladies and gentlemen? I'm just going to roll this vlog on again. One more day, YOLO swag. I've actually had some problems with my vlogs recently. I realised that the GoPro the time on the GoPro had kind of like set adrift by about an hour and a bit. And then when I import all the footage, it pulls it in for the wrong day because it thinks when I'm vlogging at like 11 o'clock at night, it thinks it's the next day. So then the script picks it up, generates it the wrong day, then puts the wrong date timestamp on the corner. I had to manually go in and fix all those stuff. That was a pain in the ass. Don't know when that happened. Otherwise though, today's been a programming kind of day. I've got the job of putting the duvet on because Laura's too small. Today's been a programming kind of day. I've been, in fact, let's put you over there, look, put you a little bit higher up. Yeah, there we go. Been living the dream, to be honest with you. I've been churning through NuGet package updates for the microservice I've just finished. I only did it because before I started the task, as part of the task I just did yesterday, I updated a load of NuGet packages, and then it took me so long that the NuGet packages then got another update in the time it took me to finish the task. So I went through, did that again, and now I've been going through the other microservices because I'm going to start doing work in 2 other microservices, updating the way that I'm managing sagas in those services. So I'm going back to a state machine rather than individual saga consumer jobbers. And that's a bit more of a pain in the ass than I thought. There's a couple of things I needed to do to handle scheduled messages. I need to change because I've got like my own test harness thing that I use. I needed to add some functionality to that. It's been great. I've enjoyed it. It's just been a lot of work. Took me a little bit longer than I expected it to, and I'm like not really that far in. But I'm like, I've hit the ground running now. I kind of forgot how complex some of these sagas were. Most of them are quite simple, but then the odd one has to do quite a bit of chunky change, you know. But I am a fan of this state machine thing. It is a lot cleaner, a lot more like easier to read, so that's good. After that, what am I saying? Yeah, basically did all that. Laura's been at home revising. Am I going to end the vlog today? Who knows? I should. I'm ending the video today. Tomorrow we'll do a proper video. It's the weekend tomorrow. Happy days. I'll catch you later, boys and girls. I need to do this. You know what I don't understand? There's no real difference to me about the weekend and the week. Like, I don't go to an office. I don't do a normal job. So in theory, there should be no significant difference between the weekend and the weekend. Week and the weekend, right? And yet, in the week, easy. Wake up at 6 o'clock, no problem. Bang. Weekend, sleep until 9. Even with an alarm, I set with the same alarms. I don't get it. What I've been doing today was like trying to just like steal odd little pockets of time that I have to do work. So like before we headed on out, I got like 15 minutes while Laura was drying her hair, chipping through some stuff. The thing I'm working on at the moment is just kind of a bit big and tedious. There's lots of really simple stuff to do. It's not that simple, but it's I've got to like translate what I've got here from this format to this format. So I've been like chipping through that, got a good solid amount of time logging into it today, even though we've been out and about. We walked into town, had a little peruse, and then came back, basically, got some lunch, and had a hot chocolate and whatnot in town. Lovely. While Laura's been off recently, obviously it's the weekend now, she's been off for the past 2 days, she hasn't left the house yet, so I had to get out and about thingy. We also got some logs delivered. I don't think I mentioned that. We got some logs delivered yesterday, and we're trying them out, and they're bloody good. There's some good quality logs. We bought them from like a proper log place rather than like a B&Q-esque style place, and they're way better. They burn for a lot longer. We get a lot more of them. It's a lot cheaper. It's mad. So loving that. Came back, sorted that, was doing programming downstairs. Otherwise we just watched a film. Laura fell asleep through the film. I was working. Spectre. Not the best James Bond, but an alright one. And now it's bedtime. And Laura's telling me that she's going to come to bed, even though she's definitely still lying on the sofa, not moving. So, odds on her coming up in the next 8 minutes. Before midnight, 0. I figured out my problem. I just realised I don't need any of that whiteboard anymore. I figured out my problem vis-a-vis running the tests with the mass transit stuff, including a scheduler. I spent about 2 hours trying to think of a solution for it that was a bit too over-engineered, and then Googled the right thing, and then stumbled upon basically just initializing it with a GUID, setting a specific parameter, and then boom, there we go. Then we can have it set up multiple times. It's been a pretty good day for chomping through some code. I am having some minor issues because of like the weight of these tests. They're quite heavy. I'm hitting some threading issues, and I feel like I need to like tighten up the threadedness, the multi-threaded support for it. I'm getting like concurrency issues basically where, well, initially where I'm trying to iterate over an array that's having something added to it. That's a dumb problem to have, which I've solved, but it kind of occurs every now and again. I'm like generating a copy of the array. It's bizarre. It shouldn't be happening to me anymore, but it is. But it only happens when another error happens, and sometimes it just doesn't take the message off the bus. I'm trying to figure out why that is. But these problems seem to occur when one throws an exception. So if I have an error occur for a reason that I'm not expecting, oh yeah, it can't be that because I'm throwing errors anyway, because I'm testing errors. I don't know what it is. Again, some issues with it, like I say. But I had a really good day of just chipping through the work, so happy with that. Back to work tomorrow, living the dream. Laura's working in one of the other offices at work. I'm driving her to work tomorrow, so it's going to be a weird morning, but otherwise, back to work. So I dropped Laura off at work today. Like I say, they've got like numerous offices around Bristol, and she had to go work at one that's like the opposite side of town. Pain in the ass to get to, but we got there with 10 minutes to spare, and we sat in the car with the radio on because it wasn't. She didn't have a key to get into that office. She's only got a key to get into the normal office, so she needed someone else to let her in. And we got there early because I'm a pro driver, you see? Even with traffic, I'm like, oh yeah, Google, I think this way is going to be quicker. It was brilliant. Anyway, we sat there in the car, listening to the radio, and then she went, and then I tried to start the engine. And then the engine was like, nah, mate. It wasn't like flat, like I've tried to start a car with a flat battery before. It was almost like, it was short-circuiting. Like all of the electrics were doing stuff as I turned the key. Like the windscreen wiper, which I didn't have on, would turn on. The lights would turn on. The radio would turn on, which it shouldn't have done at that point. It was really bizarre, and then it just like wouldn't start. And it terrified me. Luckily, within about 5 minutes, I managed to fix it. I just kind of waited a little bit and then did it again. Hopefully, fingers crossed, our car's electrics aren't going to be fried, because that would be heckin' inconvenient, to say the least. But yeah, otherwise my little nest egg might get a little bit shorter. Although to be fair, we do need a car. Anyway, I'm not thinking like that. That is not going to happen. The car is fine. Happy days if you think positive thoughts and all that shit. Otherwise, today I've been at home. Obviously, it's the first day where now Laura's in for a full week now. So we're getting back into the swing of things. I have been programming this morning. I finished off the thing I was doing previously where I'm updating. I'd started something where I was like, I'm going to move my Saga implementation. I used Mass Transit. I was using the initial kind of the Saga style consumers to do Saga states and stuff. I was doing it the old way. And I was like, I'm going to migrate to the state machine way, because then I can drastically reduce the amount of events I'm firing, because I can have different Sagas listening to different correlation IDs. So the other way, you can only have one correlation ID. So your Saga cares about a correlation ID, and it can't change. But a message could have obviously 4 IDs in it for the 4 things it belongs to. So previously what I'd have to do is create 4 different messages and make each individual one of them a correlation ID. Now I can raise one event, and then each Saga is like, right, if that event gets raised, I care about it if that's the ID, because that's my correlation ID, if that makes sense. So I did that change to one of my microservices, and then I was just about to do it to another one, where I need to do work in. And then I realized that this is kind of a bit of a ripple effect, because now I've taken the correlation ID out, because now effectively it doesn't have a correlate. The message itself doesn't have a correlation ID. It just has IDs, and then the Saga is responsible for picking the correlation ID. Now I have a load of events that don't have correlation IDs. I can't subscribe to them in a normal Saga, so I've kind of got to ripple through the microservices a little bit. I don't have to go through all of them, but I just need to go through this one, well, the one I finished this morning, this one, and then the next one. But the next one's the one I'm actually doing some work in. That's a lie. These next two are being used in the next feature of mine, but not in the next user story. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm just rippling through. It's good fun. It's a bit of a pain in the ass, but we're there. It's one of those things that's just a bit tedious. There's lots to do, and it's just tedious, you know? It really bugs me on days where it's raining when it's time for my walk, which means I've not gone for any walks today because I took Laura in the car. Obviously not walking. Can't give someone a lift if I'm walking. Now I've got to find like a way to spend half an hour that doesn't like... the reason I go for my works is so that I can kind of like clear my head and just kind of do something else, you know, away from computers and stuff. But that's... Why am I going in there? What are you doing, Jeremy? Concentrate. I've got to try and like just potter around the house a little bit. Do something that like makes me feel like I've taken a break, but nothing compares to the healing powers of a walk, you know, boys. It's only a little bit of rain. I could go for a walk. I mean, you know, but no. When we get a dog, I'll walk in the rain, but not yet. I already look like a lunatic walking around the block, let alone when it's raining as well. That's really cool. I've just finished working, just been doing all the shopping lists and stuff while I'm cooking dinner. About to put the Nambards in, but got a message from Andy, University Andy, for all of you long-time viewers, and turns out that I thought he'd moved jobs because he now moved to Bristol, but he commutes to Bath for work. Turns out he not only works at the same place, but the tester friend that I used to sit next to, Charlie, she's great, is gonna go work, is like working there, and he's gonna like effectively onto his team. And I'm like, damn, that's sick. What I love about that as well is I fucking know everybody, you know? I'm like, I've got feelers all over the shop, which is one of the advantages of jumping jobs quite regularly, is I know people at different places, at different companies, you know? It's quite good. But yeah, I'm chuffed that, they're both going there. He's been there forever, since I think he graduated and went there. Put my number in. Otherwise, I have migrated the smaller of the two next microservices. Come here, boy. And I've done, this one's got automation tests. The other one I was doing this morning hasn't. And it's throwing some odd errors. I don't know why. It's freaking me out a little bit because I can't quite figure out why the errors are occurring. But like, it's one of them things where it could have occurred. What am I doing? I can't run this thing because I'm literally changing how the microservices communicate until they've all kind of finished. So I haven't like properly run it, but obviously I've got my automation tests. The errors that the reason I think it's failing is a reason why it wouldn't, like my automation test wouldn't pick that up. Like the reason I was expecting it to fail was some issues to happen when you do publishing over mass transit. And I've now changed all of the stuff so it wouldn't like it anymore, if you know what I mean. So like everything's already pre-configured within mass transit, and now I've kind of gone, bin it, start again, kind of thing. But my automation test wouldn't pick that up, so I'm kind of a bit befuddled as to why it won't just publish this thing. Like effectively all I've done is taken the correlation ID off, but the correlation ID was a duplicate of the field that is already there. So I'm like, just trying to figure out what's going on, you know, just trying to figure it out. But yeah. Laura better be close, man. It's starting to get to the point where it's bearably bright to work in the morning without the lights on, but not light enough to vlog. I've been for my walk today. Yesterday I was doing some emails in the evening after shopping. Today is going to be quite an email heavy day. I've got lots of messaging to do. Some immediate ones and some that I want to draft, get ready to send. I'm not sure whether it's like just a contrast between December and normal working months. But January always feels really busy. You know, it's like January and like mid fucking June or something are like the two busiest months for me, you know? It's odd. But yeah. Let's get down and dirty, boys. I knew this would happen. It's tea time. I'm currently writing email after email after email. Let's do my nutting. I have one big one to write now, which I'm going to do with this cup of tea, and then I can get into real work. This is an email to someone who I had a meeting with the other week, before Christmas even, and there were like things that it was supposed to do for each other, effectively. Oh, and I didn't hold up my end of the bargain. So I've got to do that. That's going to be fun. Oh my God. And then we're going to get into some real work. But there's like, trying not to like let myself get down. If you know what I mean? I'm trying to stay positive and like upbeat and motivated. I think I'm struggling with motivation right now, which I kind of expected to happen coming back in from January, from like doing nothing to back to work, especially considering that before Christmas I had an out. Like I could have gone and got a real job. So I'm like trying not to regret that decision of turning that down. And I knew that if I took it, I'd regret it, and if I didn't take it, I'd regret it. So regret is pointless at this point. You've made your bed, lie in it. Let's make it, this is like motivation, not reason to like lose momentum, I guess. I'm not very warm either, but I'm trying to avoid, not to avoid, but like trying not to rely on hot water bottles all the time, you know? So I've done all my emails for the day, but I've got this really bizarre intermittent issue with my automation tests, where whenever I try and debug it, it works. But whenever I don't debug it, it's fine. Which leads me to infer that the message bus in the automation tests are picking up the messages in the wrong order and then not retrying them. But it won't tell me that. I have no proof for that, you know? Just figured out a way I could deliberately replicate it each time. I say each time, not necessarily each time, but more regularly, by flipping 2 steps around and saying, hey, try and publish this event before it's actually generated the saga. Maybe the retries don't work the way I expected with the, if it doesn't exist yet, maybe it just goes, oh, this doesn't exist. No, that worked. Fuck off, mate. But yeah, something odd is happening. And I don't know what. I thought that would prove the point, but it obviously didn't. God damn. But yeah, it's almost like it's receiving the messages in the wrong order. I figured out my other problem, by the way. The problem I had yesterday, that was because I'd taken away the correlated by interface, because I don't have the correlation ID anymore. And that's what I was using to pull the messages that I was publishing on the bus, because I just went, hey, if you publish any event, basically. But because none of them implement that interface before, that wouldn't work, because I wasn't getting any published events. So that was the problem there. The problem here is now a slightly different one, in the sense that it appears like the saga isn't retrying an event. That's what it looks like to me, but I can't prove that point. I can't like categorically say that's the case at this precise moment in time. So it's time for lunch. Let's step away, come back. Hopefully I've thought about a solution for it by the time I get back. That's always the fun bit. I feel like I might have to go to a networking, co-worky event thing soon as well, just to like restabilize my head, get used to working around people and not be on my little one-some. Programming is goddamn kicking my ass right now. God damn it. I'm having troubles getting App Insights installed. The way App Insights integrates has changed a little bit, and it's just not what I'm used to. So like previously I noticed that the way Mass Transit had kind of delayed updating one of the NuGet packages for Application Insights, and then therefore it was causing errors whenever App Insights was being initialized. Kind of just like poked it through the normal logging, which doesn't give you everything, but it gives me enough for now until they updated it. And now I've realized, like someone put in this short recently asking why it hasn't been updated. It's been deprecated because the way that App Insights is now integrated into services has changed, which is fine for ASP.NET applications, less good for .NET Core applications, mainly because I don't know, I can't figure out how to do that. Also, I figured out my issue with the bug. Turns out, if the Saga processes the messages in the wrong order, it was dropping the second message. So the message that's supposed to come second, if that came first, it would drop it, and it would just go, nah. It basically effectively just ignore it by default. And then it would take the first one, create the Saga, but then the message doesn't exist anymore, so it would sit and wait for the message to come back. That's not what I expected it to do at all. I thought by default, if it wasn't in the correct state, but there's a difference between not being in the correct state and not existing at all. I thought the logical thing would be, if it didn't exist in any way, shape or form, it would throw an error and it would just go, I can't, effectively, by virtue of the fact I don't exist, I'm not in the correct state, and therefore throw an error. But it doesn't do that. It doesn't even throw an error. It just goes, bloop, okay. So, I'm glad I found the problem, but damn, it's a pain in the ass. Let's put it that way. It's a pain in the ass. So now I've got to go back through them all and initialize, make that the case. I should try and repeat this in my unit tests, actually, see what happens. But in my acceptance tests, it fixes the issue I had, because now the second message arrives first, it errors, puts it onto the retry queue. The first message arrives second, it takes that message, and the second message arrives third, and then it processes it. So I fixed it. I just thought that what I'm doing now was the default, you know, not the exception to the rule, I guess. Like I say, it feels a bit odd to me that bearing in mind there is like an initial initial is treated differently to it doesn't exist yet. It just seems like odd, you know. It seems bizarre that you would differentiate between those two things. But yeah, so anyway, found the problem to that. It's just kicking my ass is the problem, and it's not helping that I can't get App Insights integrated properly because I can't see the logs. Maybe it is throwing an exception low down quietly somewhere, but I can't see it. So it's no use to me. So I've solved my issues. I just need to roll it back now to the old microservice that I've just finished, which is going to be great. I'm going to spend a little bit of time making sure I've got application insights integrated into the logger properly. So I'm just going to have to like actually spend some time and read it rather than kind of get annoyed at it not working. If you know what I mean? There's like this annoying drizzle outside, which is almost more annoying than rain. I'd be much more likely to go for a walk if it was actually raining. But drizzle is such a pain in the ass. Like, you know what I mean? Does that make sense? I feel like that makes sense. I feel like I can't be the only one that's like that, but I probably am. But I'm going because I've just been having my ass kicked and I need a walk. Programming is one of them things though, where just like every now and again you just have a day where you just crap. Like every programmer has a bad day, and then you just be like writing some code, living the dream. One day, then the next day you'll just be the worst programmer alive and you just can't solve any problems ever, you know? It just pisses you off. We just tried to watch Witcher. God damn, that stuff's hard to watch. Because like, the problem is with half the names, you don't know whether or not it's like a person or a place. And they just like mumble it and you're like, what the fuck did you just say? That's not a word I know, you know? You didn't say Bristol, for example. But we'll see what we can do about that. Otherwise, I have sorted out the problems that I was facing. Did I merge the code? I did merge the code. I started to look at planning something because I've made a semi-rash decision because it was causing me problems elsewhere, the manageable problems, but caused me problems. I was reusing an ID for one thing for something else, and it would be ideal if I could decouple those. And obviously, I think the reason was for the URL purposes. So when you're on the site itself, the URLs would be matching if you kept the same ID for the same thing. But there's better ways of doing that. So I've changed it, but now I need to consider how much of an effect that's going to have on my actual API and stuff. And there are places where it's called one thing, but actually it's technically something else. But yeah, so I need to plan that. But then otherwise, Laura came home. Yeah, anyway, I'm going to call it here, ladies and gentlemen. Relatively short one. I'll catch you later.